are going to now glue these struts down. I have completed my 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the sander. Made those nice curves underneath. On 2 and 1, notice I thinned them out a little bit, so I sanded them to the top line. Now what I haven't done is sanded them down there, and I think I'm going to wait and do the carving on the back with those pieces. So they're just straight with a curve on the bottom right now. So they're going to get glued down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the center reinforcement strip that we cut off earlier from the bottom of our back is going to go right there. And our drawing shows where it goes. Here, I'm going to make an extra straight line. This is a jointed piece of wood that I'm going to use with that center strip, and I'm going to use it to redraw a straight line down this, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. As I place these down and glue them, I'm going to follow that line, right? So look at this sample. This looks like all one piece. It's not. It's a segment there, a segment there, a segment there. But because they're lined up so well, it looks like all one piece, and that's what you're going for. Now let's go ahead and work on this center strip. It doesn't want to be square like this. It wants to be rounded. So I'm going to round this off and cut it into segments. To do that, I'm going to mount it to this other board. It's just easier to work on that way. So this came out of the garbage can or out of the shorts bin. Joint one edge so that it's flat. Using double stick tape. And you peel off that portion. Apply it. Now let me show you what, right now it looks like this square, rectangular, and I want to round it like this, make it look pretty. And I'll leave a space on the edges about a 16th to a 32nd, or a 32nd to a 16th of an inch, right there on the edge. Put it in the vise to hold it for me. And I can use sanders, but the easiest way to do that, I think, is with the block plane. And that blade ought to just be barely showing through, and I can feel it with, you probably can't even see it on camera, but you can feel it. It's just barely in. The way you adjust that blade is you pop this knuckle, and it just pops up friction fit. Just pop it up. And that allows this to be able to turn. And you can turn it forward and backward and either push the blade farther in or retract it. Once you've done it, pop it back down. Not quite down enough. There's a little more explanation about this block plane that I'd like to give you, but I don't think now is the time. And you might be questioning whether I'm even doing anything to this, but look at my block plane, the shavings that are coming off of it. So give me one shot from right here up above so they can see what's happening. You can see the shavings coming out of there. And this is incredibly fast. You can see I'm starting to round off. And look at all the shavings I'm pulling off of there. And it's starting to round it down now. And I want it to leave, right, just that lip, about that much, is perfect. All the way along that edge. And we'll do this side. Once I get it close, take off the bulk of this material with the block plane. Then I'll move to a sanding block and clean it up, make it nice and smooth. And this is a 150 grit sanding block, which works great. And then finally I'll move to some 220 grit sandpaper and smooth it off really nice. There, now you can see that nice rounded profile. Isn't that beautiful? When we remove material off of these struts, these braces, and this, part of it is beauty, but also we want to keep structure but remove mass. Right? The problem with these is they're big and bulky, and the more mass you have in your guitar, the less flexibility that box has. So by removing material, we can still keep the structure, the rigidity of it not breaking, but lighten it up a little bit so that there's more reverberation happening in the box. Okay, so now I'm ready to start putting this on my back. And I'm going to measure the distance from the top strut to the top of there where I marked it. So right there. And it looks like about 1 7/8. It's not critical that it's perfect. So I'm going to come down 1 7/8. Make a mark. And with the chisel, I'm going to cut it. So there's the bevel and then the flat on the other side. Put the flat this direction. And on my mark there, I'm pressing it in. Because of the grain structure of that piece, it doesn't take much work to cut it. Peeling it off now is a little challenging because remember we're on double stick tape. So nice and easy, work it up. See how I just peeled it off right there? That's what you want to do. Since this is going to go up against number 1, right here, I want this joint to be really nice. And I didn't do too bad of a job, but it's not snug. So I'm going to use the sanding block to square it up and make it smooth. I lay it on this. So this is 90 degrees right here. So I'm going to lay it flat. flat like that with a little bit hanging off. And then I can take the sanding block and produce a nice clean square edge. I'm going to flip it around. Since that's the top, I'm going to give it a little bit of a chamfer right there. That's just knocking that front edge off, make it look a little prettier. So it's going to go right there, and then this is going to go up against it. Now look at that joint. That's beautiful. How tight that is. Okay. Now let me show you how to glue it down. This is the gobar press, and it's the mechanism that we use to glue these down. It's going to go right here. This is a dished shape platform, and if you can see it, it's got a drawing of the guitar. The black lines are the back struts and reinforcement strip. The white is for the soundboard, the front, what its strut pattern looks like. So I'm going to lay this down in that area, and as we push it down, you can't really see it, but it's dished 1/4 of an inch deeper in the center than it is out at the edge. So this curve that we sanded on our strut matches the dish shape, and as we glue it down, it'll hold it into that dish. So I'm going to first glue down my #1 strut. Then we'll glue down the portion of the reinforcement strip that we made. Then we'll cut another one and put it there. Then we'll glue down #2, another reinforcement strip, #3, another reinforcement strip, #4, and the last reinforcement strip. As we go, we'll clean it up in the glue, then we'll let it dry, then we can carve it. This is a gobar, and right there's a bunch of them in the press down here in a pocket. And so there they are down there, ready to go. They're just pieces of fiberglass. Some of them have a nice pad on the end, some of them don't. They wear off. And I'll put them in like this and bend it, and it holds it down into that curve. This is a very old system. Dates back to the Renaissance area when guitar making was popular, and pretty simple, right? 2 platforms with something that compresses between the 2. I'm going to apply, well, I should do a dry fit. Always do a dry fit, right? This is going to require about 3 gobars. And I'm lining it up on the line. I'm making sure it's the curved side down. And a trick that I've found that works pretty good is as you compress these, you go in line with the strut. So I'm putting that right there, and then as I pull it up, I go in line with it, and then it has less tendency to fall over, right? As opposed to putting it here and pulling it in that way. I'll pull it in line with the strut. And that holds it down really tight. You should see a tight fit all the way along that strut. If not, then you might have a poorly cut strut. That curve isn't quite right. And if so, re-sand it or make another one. Okay, ready for glue. I'm going to apply the glue to the bottom of the strut, and I want you to note the amount that I'm putting on. We have to have enough to hold it down, but not so much that it makes a huge mess. And now I'm going to spread it. And notice that I push it towards the center of the strut. It's going to get some squeeze out, I know. So about that much. And notice how I've kind of pushed it so it's puddled in the center. Wants to move all over the place. I'm just taking it easy. Pulling the gobar up in line with the strut. Keep falling off. There we go. And it seems to be grabbing okay. Put one on this side. That side. Okay, now it's time to put this on. And I'm going to set it right. That's where our line is, and I want to line these up. I want to make sure I get them in sequence so that the grain matches all the way down. I'm going to dry fit this one too first. Make sure it sits the way I want it to. This is probably going to require 2 gobars. This one I'm going to pull that way, right? Because I want to push it into that strut. And that's going to be great. Notice the amount of glue that I have on there. So I want a little bit of squeeze out, but not a lot. And then I'm going to see if I can't puddle it a little bit inside from the edges. I want to be careful to get it right on that line. If I don't get it right on the line, it's not going to hurt the structure, right? This piece is reinforcing that joint. And it'll do that even if it's off a little bit. But I can make it beautiful, so why not do it? Notice it slid a little bit there, so I'm just pushing it back. When the glue's wet, it does that. It wants to slide around. It acts like a lubricant. And just be patient and put it in until it grabs. Okay, now I've got to get rid of this glue, but I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to wait till it gels just a little bit. That'll take about 5 minutes. So I'm going to go cut the piece that goes right there first, and then when I come back I'll put it in, and then I'll start removing that glue. I'm going to measure how long it is. So 3 3/8 where it meets that line. I'm measuring my piece here, and I'm going to have to square this up a little bit, so I'm going to remove a little bit of material, and I'm going to burn an inch, it's called, so I put that on the 1, and then I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3 inches, 3 3/8, right to there. I'm using the flat of my chisel, pressing it down. Severs really quite easy. Now this is a bigger piece, so I work in my chisel just oh so careful. Cutting it off of that double stick tape. Okay, that's good. So now I'm going to square up the edge, so I put it along here. And I want to remove some of that double stick tape. It's kind of getting in the way. Sand it square, and it's the square portion of this auxiliary piece that is keeping it in the right place. This is the top. Flip it around to the bottom and do the same thing. I'm going to do a measurement and make sure that we're at 3 3/8. Yeah, that's good. 3 3/8. Okay. Make sure it sits in there nice. I'm going to put it right on my line. Okay. Apply glue. Enough to hold it, but not so much that it's squeezing out all over the place. Going to puddle it a little bit in the middle. Wipe it off the edges. Make sure I got the front going. I noticed the grain direction on this one is kind of slanted this way, that way too. I think that lines up. Let me look at it from this side. I think that top one shifted on me just a little bit. That's too bad. But life goes on, so I'm moving on. Gobar. You see the squeeze out starting to come out. One more gobar. Shifting it over on my line just a little bit there. Okay. So next comes this strut. Before I do that, I'm going to clean up some of this glue. Right? I just move along, I do some, and then I come back and clean up the glue. The tool that works best for this, I think, is a 6-inch rule. And I've gotten a damp cloth to kind of help me. Watch how I can just drag this along. Now see how that glue is kind of gelled up a little bit? It's not runny anymore. And I can just pick it off of there. What I don't want to do is rub my rag. That's a bad idea. So this has all got all kinds of glue in it, and you will smear glue everywhere and make a huge mess of it. I want to leave this as clean as possible. So I pick it out, wipe it off. Let's get this edge. When it's gelled like that, it comes off really easy and clean. I'm not spreading glue anywhere. Very methodical and patient working through this. I'm going to do one more strut for you, and then I'll let you go and work on all of them. Okay, so I want to clean that edge up really well, and just keep your 6-inch rule nice and clean, and it'll do a good job of scraping any of that excess glue off. Okay. Now I got to do the back side, but I'm going to do this strut first, and then I'll do that strut, and then that, and then I'll come back and clean up, move on, come back and clean up, move on, come back and clean up. Let's do now number 2, strut. That's the curved side. I want to make sure glue is everywhere, but then I kind of press it towards the center. And wipe your excess on a rag, not on this. There's glue on this and it messes up our sandpaper here and stuff. You'll note that this one is way long, right? It's way past, and that's okay. No worries. It's all going to get trimmed down later. So I butt it up tight, and if this is off a little bit, that's okay. Just push it up towards it. These don't have to be in a precise location. Just close to that is fine. So I'm going to put the center gobar. Now why they're called a gobar, I don't know. That stuck pretty well, so I'm going to do another one. Remember, I bring it up in line with the strut. One more on this side. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to come back and I'm going to clean this area. Then I'll go cut another piece, glue it down, come back and clean, put the next one on, and I'm going to work my progress, or work it until I'm at the very end. Here, right, you might not have that much left, so just put on there whatever you have left of your strip on the bottom, and that'll work out just fine.